Welcome back to the Clinic Scale podcast, the show where we uncover what it really takes to build a practice that scales profitably, serves your community deeply, and supports your life and legacy. Today's guest is a thought leader in the chiropractic profession who has combined artful chiropractic with savvy business to build a movement. Dr. Brett Jones describes himself as being here to facilitate the reconnection of humanity to heal, grow, and evolve naturally. He's the creative mind behind the Source Chiropractic. He built it from the ground up in Oakland, where it was named Best Chiropractor multiple years in a row. His vision has since expanded into Source locations all over the country, and he now serves a community in Tucson. Brett saw a missing ingredient in the profession, a deep sense of connection, purpose, and consistent delivery of results through artfully crafted adjustments. To fill that gap, he co-founded Kairos Training Culture, a global community dedicated to evolving the art of chiropractic. He also developed programs like Move, Breathe, Meditate, the book Know Who the Fuck You Are, and healing codes to help people unlock their inherent power and wisdom. Recently, he shifted his entrepreneurial focus to marketing with Lead Gen Alchemy, a system to help guide chiropractors in attracting the right patients and to grow their clinics. Today, we're going to talk about how Brett scaled his clinics, built movements, and integrates mindset, marketing, and mission. If you're ready to think bigger and build smarter, let's dive in with Dr. Brett Jones. Brett, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dr. Andy. Appreciate it. It's good to be here.
Great to have you here. So let's start with those early days in Oakland. What core beliefs or principles guided you when you were building the Source Chiropractic from scratch?
Yeah, good question. For me, I wanted something in integrity with both the chiropractic principle, artistry at a high level, systems that support both of those things, and a team environment. So I grew up as a team athlete, primarily. So basketball, football, soccer, baseball. So almost all my sports are always team sports. And so I feel like I've always done better in community and collaboration and team. And so wanted to build something that created somewhat of a lifestyle by not being just like a single chiropractor in an office, because to me, that is one of the bigger things that can kind of chain you to your practice, if you will. So it's like when you're the one man show or the one woman show or the one whatever show, makes it hard to leave, vacation, travel, and then I would imagine most people have a background fear of getting hurt too, because there goes your business. If you got injured or got sick or got unwell for whatever reason. So I would say like those were kind of like some of the guiding tenets. And then outside of that, in chiropractic school, you don't really get taught much business. So coming out at the time, so I graduated 2013. You really only saw, again, I could have been missing something, but from my perspective, you saw really good chiropractic artists, often with not very good businesses. And then you saw really strong chiropractic businesses lacking the art. And at the time, also, it felt like every strong chiropractic business was tied to x-ray. So it's like for those that were doing care plans, they were almost always x-ray driven, and then were based on some model of degeneration charts. And so when I graduated chiropractic school in 13, I got involved with a couple different coaching groups right away, just because I knew I was lacking there. But I felt out of integrity utilizing those systems. And it's not that I don't have an interest or even an appreciation in x-ray. I just don't love the cell of fear. To me, it's like, from my study of healing, fear is what creates the disease and the suffering. And yet most people are going into their chiropractic reports, utilizing fear to sell their care. Meaning it's like, it was like, you're a phase 2 or phase 3 degeneration. If you don't do anything about it, it's going to get worse. And subluxation's the silent killer, and all this, that type of terminology. And so, I remember like the first 6 months utilizing some of these systems, like I used to fucking hate doing a report. Just like it was like the piece where like the exam was cool, the initial connection, building the rapport, but then going to the report, something always felt off for me. And then in my first practice, we ended up having some issues with the landlord, and it created basically an opportunity where we needed to move and leave. And so in that changing of location, changing of office, I feel like that was like the space I needed to be like, well, what would I create to be in more integrity, to honor the artist, to honor love, to honor hope, to honor faith, to honor all the good things. And so that led me to create what, the source systems have evolved into. And that was basically creating a functional exam, and you could say analysis, if you will, that I then developed an algorithm in scoring that would qualify people for different care plans. So now, so it was non-X-ray dependent. It was using function. So basically, we look at gait, posture, squat, overhead squat. We do range of motion, functional muscle testing, and then like I picked whatever the tests that I felt like were most related to chiropractic and the subluxation pattern, and then develop different scoring systems for both like a subjective, like how's the person doing. So we have like kind of the health presentation score, and then we have a functional exam score, and then we have a posture score, and then an X-ray when we do it. And then based on the score, they would qualify for different care plans, 12 to 60 visits ranging from 3 to 6 months. And then I could keep the language always of like, what can get better? So this is where you're at. And this is our intention for what you can experience. And so instead of scaring people into care, we created the space in where things could get better. And then it's just been a constant refinement of that, through the last, so that was like 2014 that changed. And then, all the way up until this year, it's just continually just refining that and getting better.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And
Mhm.
Dr. Brett, I mean, one of my greatest mentors for business growth has been Alex Hormozy. And he often says that your offer determines your growth ceiling. So, how did your core offer evolve as the source went from one clinic to more?
Yeah. So the very first step, so we created something very unique, right? So again, at that time, you just didn't see it. You didn't see artists doing well in business. I think part of it was they were kind of anti-system in some way, because they wanted, I don't know, it's like they didn't want to put time blocks on how they were seeing people and da 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 da. But for me, I realized the stronger my systems, my business systems got, the more it allowed me to be an artist because I didn't have the background, just fucking shit falling through the gaps, and people not making their appointments and not having the system to follow up and checking these things. So as the systems got better, I felt like my artistry expanded. And the big test was, so I developed associates, throughout the years. And then I had an associate, Dr. Darren Murphy, who was going to move to Denver, Colorado. And Darren Murphy, he's a powerhouse in his own right, and at the time, like all the work that he'd put in, both in his own artistic endeavors, in teaching, and then what he was able to do at the Source in Oakland as an associate. I told him, I'm like, bro, I think you're going to be successful either way. So it's like whether or not you continue to move with this movement or you continue to do your own thing, I think you have success either way. However, I think we'd be stronger together. And so we had never tested outside the market of Oakland. And Oakland is unique. To me, Oakland hosts a lot of artists and creativity. It's a city of resilience, a city of music, a city of just like culture. And the Source was a great fit for that. And so I didn't know how the Source would do in other locations. And so Denver became the test. And so we created like a memorandum of understanding. We're not a franchise yet, but the idea was like the Source could be almost like these living temples, if you will, that were a representation of this artistic principle that we built within KTC, and then the actual expression of that in a business practice. And he did well. right? And so he launched in 2019, and if I believe, yeah, 2019, and the practice was successful, and that kind of gave us the idea. It's like, I don't think this is just a one place thing. I think the systems are strong enough to be able to go in multiple directions, and so we just continue to build from there.
And the Source is in multiple cities now. How many Source clinics are we up to now?
We have 6 locations. So there is Oakland, and then there was Denver, and then I moved to Tucson in 2021, and so then we have Tucson. My previous associate, Dr. Jordan Fairley, bought Oakland, and then he also opened up Berkeley, California. And then, so yeah, Tucson, Oakland, Berkeley, Denver, and then we opened Dallas, and then we opened Seattle, Washington. So there's 6 current locations.
Right. And is this under a franchise model or a licensing model?
Franchise model. So we started the franchise process in 2021, I believe, and then it finished in 2023, where we had our FTD and were able to then start, marketing and starting franchisees. Oh, yeah, and the franchise model, there's different ways you can do it. You could be an owner in different locations. If you're an owner in different locations, from what I'm aware of, like if you try to go to a different state, you need to carry a license in that state. So that makes it a little bit more difficult versus the licensing model. What makes the difference between a license and a franchisee or a franchise is if they're following specific systems, right? So if you're licensing the name, the brand, potentially like help with some of the marketing, but as soon as it's like system based, it's really a franchise. And so, we wanted to have integrity and standard, and so franchising was the way for us. And I would say it's a difficult game. The franchise model, it's very expensive from legal. So you have to have an annual audit. You have to update on FTD, and all these things need to be done through legal. And then every time you sign a franchisee, and then if you want to be in a certain state, there's a legal process. You have to register. Some of them are registration states, some are non-registration states. It's been a little bit of a learning curve. And we've just been really trying to strengthen what we have, in this moment. Like, how can we make sure that every office that we have is doing the best that we can? And then from there, um, start to build out the personnel more so that we could be bringing more people on. And that was also kind of a move with the Legion Alchemy product that we're offering now. Which, you want me to get into
I hear
that?
you. Yeah, we're coming on to that next, but just on this topic, so I can understand that when you're trying to scale to multiple sites through the franchise model, there's certain systems and processes that need to be implemented that other docs are using. It must be quite
Hmm.
challenging trying to maintain that same quality across multiple sites. I'm part of
Yeah.
a franchise group as well. We've got 5 clinics in the UK, and I can see the challenges of that system. Um, I had Travis Cochran from Top Cairo on the podcast a couple of episodes back, and he's actually built 29 clinics, and and it's a mix of franchising and licensing model. So that's quite an interesting one to listen to. So if you're listening to this podcast, maybe refer back to that one to explore this topic
Hmm.
even further. But yeah,
Hmm.
there's some key differences between the two, and I think from what I can see, there's one that certainly feels more scalable than the other. And I would say that's more leaning towards that licensing model. I think the franchising model will get you to a certain point. Um, but I know your goal is to break even further with the Source, right? There's a
Yeah.
certain mission
So
in.
yeah, there's definitely there's difficulties, and I think the main difficulty is when it comes to capital. Franchising model can be more expensive. However, if done well, it can actually be bigger than licensing. And so it's like, ideally, if in the ideal world, I could come into the franchise model with 100 mil. That'd be the ideal world. It'd make everything so much fucking easier. And so the fact that all of our shareholders are basically helping bootstrap this, and they're also all clinic owners and also all have families, that's been like kind of like why it's been a slower process for us. And so we're okay with it, because we're taking, step by step, staying in integrity and honoring, what we say we're going to do. But yeah, majority of franchises will start off with I say more capital. When you have more capital, it makes it a lot easier to bring the people in that you need to have to help scale it faster. And we've decided, not to get seed capital and not to give away equity at this time. But we'll see what the road has in front of us. But for right now, that's kind of one of the reasons that we're making this move for Legion Alchemy, because a hard part about franchising, and especially with the artists, this has actually been one of the bigger challenges. And we thought it was one of our advantages. We're actually realizing it's actually one of our bigger challenges. So I created Kairos Training Culture, which was previously Adjusting Ninja. Started with a co-developer, Dr. Lance Von Stade, and then eventually in 2019 became the sole owner of Kairos Training Culture. And we've trained like over, I think we're approaching 8,000 chiropractors and chiropractic students worldwide. So like we had this huge base of artists. But what you realize about artists is kind of artists want to do their own thing. So it's like it's been one of those things of like, how do you bring an artist into something like a franchise, with not having it feel quite like a franchise and still having that level of autonomy, but having the help and support on the business things that make things run smoother, right? And so that's been kind of what we've been working through. But we decided that one of the things that we're missing is right now it's like you're either a franchise or you're not a franchise, and if you're not a franchise, then we can't help you. And if you are, then we can. But then that's kind of like a big threshold, to start a franchise on average. If you're a franchisee, you have, somewhere in the range of $30,000 to $40,000 initiation fee plus, ongoing monthly, payments based on what services you're being provided. And so what we were missing is all of the people that, potentially aren't ready for that move that we could be helping in some way without giving our proprietary, intellectual property in our systems. And so that was where the idea came in this year for Legion Alchemy. And so Legion Alchemy is basically what we realize is like there's three major problems, if you will, that's going to happen in your process of developing a business and clinic. The first one is new patients. And so, like, if you listen to a Cardone or even a Hormozy or whatever, it's like the first problem of any new business is obscurity. People don't know you, and if they don't know you, they can't flow you, right? So you got a problem with new customers, and you got a problem with new patients. And so, after you solve that problem, your problem's conversion, right? So it's like, okay, I got leads, I got these people, but am I converting them to chiropractic care? And then your third problem usually is retention. So, right, we have a new patient problem, then we have a conversion problem, then we have a retention problem. Okay, well, what if we focused our efforts from the franchise in regards to our own lead gen, meaning how to bring on new franchisees by helping people with lead gen? So that's what we're doing right now. The first little program that we ran, a cohort, is for dinners. So how to do a successful, dinner talk that converts. And we I think we brought some unique things to it because we want to make it a challenge. And so basically, people come into a cohort can last anywhere from 2 to 8 weeks. This one's 8 weeks. And then you'll launch a dinner within that 8 week period. It'd be a competition. Whoever gets the most signups wins some money, right? So we're taking half of the pot of the registration to then go into prize money. And then we'll continue to do that just in different arenas of lead gen. So we're right now, our next one most likely is going to be a real estate talk. So like for real estate agents and realtor firms, like a luncheon almost. And so, but we're utilizing the Legion Alchemy to pick up leads for franchise. And I tell people straight up, like if I can teach you how to be better in creating new clients, you're probably going to run into the next problem if your systems aren't good, which is conversion. And
Yeah,
so,
that's the thing, bro, isn't it? It's like people think it's the new patients that's going to solve all of their problems, but it's really not. There's so many more levels to it. That's just one piece of the overall pie of running a business, isn't it?
yep. But that's where I see most chiropractors struggle, right? Even within some of our own locations, right? The struggle can be generating new clients. And so we have a lot of different strategies for that. But at the same time, it will come down to the individual, meaning that ads don't always work. they just don't, you can have some good times where the shit's flowing and you're popping, 20, 30, 40 new clients in a month. But I've seen, and then how much money do you have to put in to have that, happen? And so I personally don't see it as consistent. Dr. Jordan, who has the Oakland and Berkeley locations, like that's his big focus. Like he's that guy. He's the guy that does a lot of Facebook ads and Instagram ads and the conversions, and created a new AI assistant that can call the people after he gets a lead and all the things, right? Whereas like at Tucson, like that's not us. Like we do events. Like so we do the dinner event and we do the workshops and we go out there and we screen and we do talks in the office, and like that's how we generate our new clients. So I feel like there's always going to be like somewhat of a different main strategy based on the type of person that's doing it, right? And I would say most chiropractors struggle not properly identifying their target market, because there's so many different ways that you can do this chiropractic thing, right? And different focuses that you can have, and different types of language that you can use to attract. And that's like one of the biggest things I really try to help people with. And still I have people that struggle and struggle and struggle. It's like, identify a specific target market, learn their values, learn their pain points, learn their language, learn what their needs are, and then continually provide different solutions to those problems and unique communication strategies, right? And until you can really get specific, if you're for everybody, you're for nobody, right? And I think that's the kind of the hard part. A lot of these chiropractors are coming out with this good principle of, chiropractic is healing, and it is. And, everybody with the brain, spine, and nervous system deserves chiropractic care. And I agree. But if you go out into the marketplace like that, communicating that way, I'm telling you right now, you ain't going to see nobody. So the more you can get specific to the specific types of problems or specific type of people or specific groups that you can help, that's where you're going to start to see more success, right?
Absolutely. Are there any other big marketing mistakes you see chiropractors making today?
Marketing for other chiropractors is number one, I think. So it's like I have there's a lot of chiropractic students, and then I'd say young chiropractors that create videos that other chiropractors like, right? Is creating the video that the people that they want to see is going to like and appreciate and attract, right? So it's creating like these like artistic style adjusting stuff. I mean, like again, I'm somebody that also teaches seminars, so like for me to have some balance of that makes sense. But for general public, is your video for the chiropractic profession and other chiropractors, or is your video for the actual general public and the person that you want to see? I would say that's up there, specifically from people that I see coming through these different seminar groups and kairos and whatnot. And the other one is that they're not specific enough. Yeah. So the making videos that are more for the chiropractor than they are for the person, and then making videos that are too general and not specific enough to the target.
Yeah. I mean, that moves on to my next point about Dan Kennedy, someone else I follow, and he says the best marketing enters the conversation already happening in your customer's mind.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about how do you teach chiropractors to tap into that conversation and build campaigns around it? And this comes down to, who is your avatar client and what are their pain points? So you need to almost
Yep.
create the content to target that specific person. And I'm in
Yep.
Russell Brunson's mastermind group, and he drives home. And I know you've done some work with Russell Brunson as well. He drives home the points of like hook, story, offer. So whenever you're creating a piece of content, you should always hook the audience first. So those
Mm-hmm.
first 3 seconds are key. Then you create the
Yep.
story about what it is that you want to talk about on that particular topic, and then you create an offer at the end of whatever that piece of content is to send them to as a call to action. And I think when I see a lot of chiropractors making content, they're missing those key principles.
Mm-hmm.
So hook, story, offer. That's the key that Russell Brunson would preach.
Yeah, and the hooks have gotten really competitive. I mean, it's just and you see some people using different strategies where you could use just like some kind of like the viral trending, like kind of like surprise stuff. So like somebody's like getting into an accident or falling, and then they go into the video or whatever. So the hooks have gotten more and more and more and more and more competitive. It used to be like, honestly, if you had a really good adjustment as the first 3 seconds, and then you follow it in with the story and the testimony and then an offer, that would work. I don't see it work as much anymore. And so you're having to get more and more and more creative with that hook for sure. but most people again don't even know that formula. And
And they
so
don't.
if you're missing that formula, yeah, you're way off, especially if you're trying to capture things on social. And so yeah, it's more getting more competitive, and now you have people that are creating, 400 plus pieces of content a month, with clippers and everything else. And so now it's like the volume is crazy. The AI volume is crazy. What's the trend going to happen there? I don't know, man. I just see that there's so much information in the space and everybody wants to be an influencer now, that it's just like, yeah, it's not only just highly competitive, but there's just so much noise then the volume is getting so loud that, I don't know what that future looks like. I would imagine that there is going to be somewhat of a revert, if you will, where people are starting to disconnect more from it, just because of how overwhelming the space is and how loud it is and how much people are batching content. So like we have all the live streaming now that's happening, right? And so one of the biggest reasons people are live streaming is it's the next level of podcast cuts. So I didn't really understand the live streaming thing. I think I'm starting to understand it more. One is, yes, you can make money live streaming. Yes, from just people, donating money and having the subscribers and everything else. But if you actually see what it really is, it's kind of like the way people use podcasts. Right? If you do a podcast, you have an hour of content. It can get clipped up, and now you have multiple pieces of content that could be utilized and spread out. Well, what happens if you live stream for 6 hours? Fuck, dude. I mean, it's just so much shit. And then what people do is they pay clippers, right, to go, and then they create all of these other different types of accounts, not even owned by the person. But if you're part of the clipping program, you post a link, you get kickback for all the people that are utilizing whatever codes that are connected to that person. And then you're also making money off of TikTok and whatever else from those videos virality. So like you look at your top streamers, like what Speed, and then Neon, and some of the other ones. They have this going on. If you're looking in the health field, this is Gary Brecka is big in that. The 10x Your Health was connected to Cardone and 10x Health Systems, but he's got clippers everywhere. So you look up Gary Brecka on Instagram, not at Gary Brecka. Look up Gary Brecka. Tell me how many accounts you find. It's probably over 100 at least. And that's just on
Mm.
Instagram. Go to TikTok and see how many there are there. And so that's the game right now, right? It's like and they're doing that from either pod. So he's not live streaming, they're doing it from podcast. So basically he'll give you the assets, right? So let me make these assets available to you. You can either just rip them off YouTube, or you probably have some type of Google Drive folder. I'll give you the assets. I get these clippers. They start their own accounts. Now everything is linking back to that. So how many pieces of content is going out on that person every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, every month? And so again, the more people that start doing that, it's
You
just
just get all this
it's
noise, don't
crazy.
you, in the marketplace, and it's so hard with this saying in England. It's like you can't see the wood from the trees. You can't see the content that actually is useful to you. So that's where maybe sometimes going back to some of the old school marketing now is actually producing better results. Like
I
you with our
agree.
practices, we like
I
going out to the
agree.
community and doing screenings because actually the cost per acquisition is way better. And you get way more motivated people that are actually your target client, and you can go out and almost choose your clients that you want to work with.
Yep.
And sometimes the old school marketing works. Like we have amazing results from sometimes from magazines or health talks. You do like the dinner
Hmm.
with the doc, and like some of these old school strategies generally working better than sometimes the automated Facebook or
Hmm.
Google costs that are associated. Um, so, I mean, you've expanded beyond patient care with offerings like Kairos training culture, and actually, that's where I first discovered you back in my days in university, quite a few years ago now. But that's where I first discovered your name with Kairos training culture, and a group of buddies of mine at the time, and we were learning your techniques, which we still use in practice today. But you created books and courses. How did you decide when to launch a new program or product? And how do those ventures serve your overall mission of elevating chiropractors and humanity in general?
Yeah. So at first it was just creating what I always wanted, and for me, what I always wanted was like what I realized is I went to a lot of seminars. I went to a seminar basically every week. I was in chiropractic school. So the what we were in quarters. The quarter averaged 10 weeks. I would say I averaged 8 seminars a quarter, so majority of the weeks. And what I always found in attending seminars was that, they're based on where you were coming in, there was a lot that was over your head. You take what you can take, and then you try to remember what you can remember, and then maybe you practice a little bit as you can. And so that's where Adjusting Ninjas came in, right? It was like, well, there should be a club to continue to practice whatever is getting taught at the seminar. That way it can actually be integrated, and that you can turn knowledge into wisdom, right? And so specifically for something like an art, it requires practice, it requires training. And so we wanted to build clubs around the chiropractic schools, to support the training that was happening in seminars. And the other piece was, you should be able to go back and watch things that you learned, because again, you only remember certain pieces of it, and sometimes you're missing a certain piece that really like helps it work better. And so what we did is we created modules. And so if you went to a training camp, we ended up doing 6 months of training modules that would be gifted to the clubs. And it had two sessions a week that would have movement, that would have the artistry to be taught. So this was all for the club level. And then eventually what we did is we created like the level 1 training camp module too. And so in the beginning, it was actually all the modules were to help the clubs. So we released a new module every month that we're out teaching these seminars. And then each of those modules were to benefit how to train at the club level. And then after we finished that, we did the first level 1 module. So basically for everybody that attended level 1, you got access to everything that we taught at level 1. And then we did the same thing for level 2. And then following that, it was like, okay, so this is kind of like our base of full spine adjusting. Level 3 was always kind of going beyond into like upper cervical. And then it became actually a little bit more of a tonal seminar, energetic seminar. And so everything that wasn't covered in level 1, level 2 became now opportunities to create higher level modules and courses for. And so then started just doing that naturally. And it was always kind of based on what the culture wanted to explore or experience next. And then also it was somewhat of just like my own self-discovery and what was exciting to me. But I always try to time it with survey. And this actually brings me up, as you were talking about, it's like, creating content for people. I think a lot of times we get it twisted, and we think that we have to try to guess what people want or what those conversations are in the people's head instead of just asking them. Right. It's like, so we had, a really strong Facebook group when Facebook groups were really strong. Some people say they're back. I don't know. But we were really strong on the Facebook group. And at that time, again, if you posted something in a Facebook group, everybody saw it, and everybody was, there's a lot more interaction. And then over the years, the algorithm shifted and it switched up a little bit. But we were always really active, and we were sharing what insights were coming in. And then we'd always do surveys of what people were interested. Hey, we're thinking about doing this module. What do you guys think? And we even got to the point where we were getting like pre-registrations for modules and stuff like that. And so it was part community driven, and then it was also just like my own interest and intrigues driven, and then unique collaborations start to bring in some different techniques. Ian Davis Tremaine had Upper Cervical Revolution. We brought his work into it. My work with Marvin Talski, my mentor, brought his work into the modules that we were offering. And so, yeah, it was both community driven and driven, I guess, by some of my own interest, what I was
Yeah.
excited about at the time.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing, so it's a bit about like your personal journey discovery, but also like the market dictates what needs to be created next through
100%.
surveys and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So I noticed at the moment, Dr. Brett, that you're super engaged on social media, posting. I think a few months ago I saw you post something like, "This is my challenge of posting every day about lead gen
Mhm.
alchemy and your new projects." And it reminded me of what Gary Vee always talks about. I mean, Gary Vee is one of the greatest content creators of all time,
Mhm.
crazy following on socials, and he often says, "Document, don't create." So when you're sharing your journeys, you share it through content. You're actually supposed to document that rather than trying to get polished materials. I mean, have you found that being open about your process has helped you attract the tribe that you're looking for rather than creating polished marketing?
Yeah, it's both, and this is kind of like, because again, the space is more competitive now. I would say pure documentation, although it sounds lovely, doesn't hit if it doesn't have a polished hook, and it doesn't have some of these other pieces. So it's like, when Gary Vee was saying a lot of that stuff, it was a lot of fly on the wall captures. And I would say at the time, like, it would have a lesson, but it didn't always have the strongest hook. And now, of course, now because the game has changed, like, if you don't have a strong hook, you just the video ain't going to do that well. So for me, sometimes it's like if I'm just getting in the consistency, I just like being in the consistency of it. And so it's like I'm not really looking at, oh, are my numbers for these videos super crazy? And the reality is, like, for instance, I just started doing 5K a day until my next business resource opens. And so I've been documenting it, right? And started, I think, the first at least 11 days with an actual post. But now I'm just like kind of hitting the story, and just like, I just got it fucking done. So like it helps keep me accountable when I can do those challenges like that, just to get back in the flow of something. And then what ends up happening always is the content gets better. Like it's just like if you're in a rut of like wanting to create content, but like you're trying to think about all these different pieces and the formula, da, 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 I say just start fucking posting. And what happens is you just start producing better shit over time. And then one of the random ones are going to go. And it's hard to decide which one. My most viral post of all time just happened earlier this year with one of our elders, Bob, is dude. And he was just at my house. And I just asked him a question because I heard him talking. And this video did like fucking blew the fuck. I think it's like over 6 million views or something like that. I gained 35,000 followers from a one video of asking one of my elders a question for a minute. Like, I say, hey Bob, tell us the Lakota meaning of the word woman. And how the fuck do you know that that's going to be the thing that
You
all of a
don't.
sudden goes bonkers? Like, I would have never guessed that that would have been one of them that's like just goes insane.
Yeah.
And so it's hard.
That's
It's
what I
hard
say.
to predict.
Consistency
Yeah,
wins every time, right? Consistency wins every time with that.
consistency helps for sure.
Yeah. I mean, you're managing multiple clinics, training culture. There's new ventures going on. There's a lot, right?
There's a
What
lot.
leadership habits or systems? Well, like, what the leadership habits or systems you've developed to help keep your team and your culture aligned across all these locations?
Yeah, I mean, I would say empowerment, you know, just noticing energetic patterns is helpful too. Um, but yeah, I'm somebody that I want to be there. I want to be teaching. I want to be there with you, for a lot of it, as much as I can. And then till I can get you into a position where you can also be empowered and take lead. And so, actually give quite a bit of space to my people. So I live and express in a certain standard. I'll be with you in proximity until you can see, feel, and understand that standard. And then I'll give you space to be in that. And sometimes enough space so that you can fail. But yeah, it's interesting because, yeah, I mean, there's from the outside looking in, there's a lot of fucking shit going on. My life is crazy, and I like it. I
Yeah,
chose it, right? I chose
entrepreneurs,
it. Right?
but that's the difference between entrepreneurs, right? That we love the chaos. Like we thrive in the chaos of business, but it's
Mm,
not for everyone. Like entrepreneurship is not for
no,
everyone. But I mean, on like a
no, you
personal
you give me
level,
you give me too much space and time, bro. Like, it's
it's
not
not good
good.
for you.
It's not good. It's just like, that's where like my bad behaviors come out, right? It's like you give me too much space and time. I feel like I'll default to some of my old hood shit, versus like you pack my schedule. I'll stay on the straight and narrow, and show up in a good way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, on a personal level, how do you maintain your own energy and avoid burnout when you're juggling so much? Do you have your non-negotiables?
Number one. That's number one for me. Yeah. So
Yeah.
everything else comes after that. Strong spiritual connection, family connection, and my health. Like those are all they're all kind of in the same for me. I don't separate them. And so sleep, it didn't used to be, but I'll tell you, 'cause I would say when I was in school, I averaged 4 to 5 hours. I would say my first 2, 3 years in practice, averaged 4 to 5 hours a night. But it's become a lot bigger of a priority for me. So I'm 7 to 8, and consistent sleep. My sleep, my shit's good. I track my HRV. My workouts take up, the space in my schedule first, right? My recuperation strategies take up the space in my schedule first. What I'm doing for my movement, breath work, and meditation. So, and nourishment, like all of those pieces, priority. Then from there, like from my health, from my energy, from my abundance, then I can do all of these other things. And so I'm not somebody at this current time that sacrifices my health to do all this stuff. I feel like I'm operating at a really strong place of health and energy, and so and to me that empowers the things. But some people choose that, and again, it would be a short term play to sacrifice your health for your business. It's a short term play. But I realize I'm not in this for the short term. I don't need immediate gratification. I'm a patient motherfucker. I'm a
That's the way
patient,
to be.
consistent motherfucker. Uh-huh.
You're in it for the long game. Without our
Mm-hmm.
health, we don't have anything, right? So, um, thank you for sharing that. And obviously, I've been on events with you before where you've shared your mindset and your meditation techniques and your morning routine, and that stuff has really stayed with me. And thank you so much for sharing that. Before we wrap up, and we've come to the end of our episode, and there's been so many amazing insights here. But I just ask a signature question to everyone that I invite onto our podcast. And we don't invite just anyone and everyone on this podcast. We really invite the great thought leaders of our profession and beyond. But one question I'd like to ask everyone is if you could put a message on a billboard outside every chiropractic college in the world, what would it say?
And then this would be for the chiropractic school itself, or this would be for the community in that area?
No, this is for the chiropractic college students.
For the students. If I could put a billboard for the chiropractic student, I'd say chiropractic works. I keep it simple. Chiropractic works. I feel like because the majority of chiropractic schools don't teach chiropractic, all these new chiropractors want to be everything but a chiropractor. And most of them don't even know what fucking chiropractic is. And that's sad, right? They got taught, that it's about potentially joint mobility. They got taught that potentially it's to help somebody with pain, right? They got taught that it's for conditions of the spine. I don't know, man. Like it's just it's unfortunate that people going to chiropractic school can go through the whole schooling program and never read a chiropractic book. That's always been one of the biggest things that I bring up to chiropractic students. I'm like, you guys go to chiropractic school. How many chiropractic books you read? And most of them are zero. I'm like, how the fuck can you go through a whole 3+ year curriculum in chiropractic and never read a chiropractic book, which is wild. And so most of them don't know the rules of the game. They don't understand the principles of the work. They don't understand how deep this shit goes, the history that we have, the healing power that is in our fucking hands. And so yeah, chiropractic works. Learn about it. Would be a great
Absolutely.
fucking billboard. Chiropractic
I think
works. Learn about it. Oh shit.
we'd have a much more unified profession if we were just all on the same page and we just took a page out of the history books, right? Um, but I have this conversation with many thought leaders. Like we were talking to Dr. Tim Young earlier today, and we're just saying like the problem is with the colleges at the moment. So if they were all more, if like the education was better, we'd have much more unified profession. We'd have much more certain chiropractors, and then we could help more people, right? And that's the ultimate goal.
Mm.
But Brett, thank you so much. You bring such clarity and inspiration when you talk. But what really stands out is your commitment to combining artistry with business and
Mm-hmm.
showing businesses how they can scale without sacrificing, soul and service. So for everyone listening who wants to go deeper, you can check out Brett's Lead Gen Alchemy. We're going to actually drop a link in the show notes to the course so you can connect with him directly and see if it's the right fit for your clinic. And if you've enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to the Clinic Scale podcast. So we release new episodes every single week. And you can also sign up for our Clinic Scale newsletter via the link in the bio and follow me on Instagram at Dr. Andy Kurt and my Facebook, Andy Kurt Clinic Scale, for daily insights on clinic growth and leadership. Brett, appreciate you. Let's keep elevating. And I look forward to seeing you again, hopefully next time in person.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Andy Kurt. Bless all of your businesses. Bless your Clinic Scale, this podcast, and everybody listening. I appreciate the opportunity to be on today.
Thank you for your time. Have a good rest of your day. Take care.